Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at part 2 of chemistry hacks. So this will be related to the chapter acids, bases, and salts. Without any further ado, let's begin. So the first hack is related to acid reactions, which are incredibly difficult to remember. But there's a few little formulas which will make it far easier, and you just have to apply the elements of the specific reaction in these formulas. So the first reaction is acid plus metal, which always results in the formation of some sort of metal salt and evolution of hydrogen gas. And the hydrogen gas can be identified through testing it by a pop sound. Next, an acid plus a metal carbonate. So a carbonate is always in the form of CO3. So depending on which metal you choose, whether it be sodium carbonate or iron carbonate or whatever metal, carbonate has CO3. So an acid plus a metal carbonate creates the metal salt, as always, plus the release of CO2 gas and water. So this is one of the biggest hacks, is that any reaction that contains carbonate would always evolve carbon dioxide gas, regardless of what type of reaction it is. Carbonate, carbon dioxide. So always keep this in mind. There's also metal hydrogen carbonates which react the same way and produce the same products. Next we have the notorious neutralization reaction, which is an acid plus a base. So the concept behind this is that when an acid and a base react together, they nullify each other's acidic or basic effect, resulting in the formation of a substance that has a neutral pH value, also known as water. So acid plus base results in the formation of salt plus water. So as I mentioned earlier, the biggest hack, carbonate reaction always evolves CO2 gas. Now another thing that's really challenging is the changes in the color of litmus paper for acids and bases and different substances. It's just too tough for me to remember because it just seems to be the same color, but what's the corresponding change for acid and base, it's just hard to remember. So here's a hack. Bases turn blue. Just remember the statement, because a base turns a red litmus solution into a blue color. So if you know that bases turn blue, then you would automatically know that acids turn blue litmus paper into red. So this statement is crucial. Bases turn blue, meaning that they turn red into blue color. And then you can remember the opposite by remembering that acids turn red. So bases turn red litmus solution into a blue color, and acids turn blue litmus solution into a red color. There's also other synthetic indicated color changes which are very difficult to remember, but I have a little hack for that too. So in the case of phenolphthalein, bases turn pink, and you can remember this by the first letter of phenolphthalein, bases turn pink, and acids turn colorless or clear. So P in phenolphthalein and P in pink. And if we're looking at methyl orange, acids would turn red and bases turn yellow. And the easiest way to remember this is red and yellow are what form the color orange. So acid plus base form orange. Acids are red, bases are yellow. An easy way to remember acids and bases are that acids always have some sort of hydrogen compound and bases have a hydroxide compound. So if you look at any acid, whether it be sulfuric acid, nitric acid, methanoic acid, hydrochloric acid, they all have hydrogen ions. In fact, an acid has hydrogen. That's what makes it acidic. So the formula for sulfuric acid is H2SO4. The formula for nitric acid is HNO3. And for bases, it's always hydroxide. So sodium hydroxide, NaOH, potassium hydroxide, KOH, calcium hydroxide, CaOH. So acids have hydrogen and bases have hydroxide. And this, while it might not be directly in the exam point of view, it could be asked as a little MCQ, and that is the fact that copper sulfate is known as blue vitriol and ferrous sulfate is known as green vitriol. So copper sulfate and ferrous sulfate are just crystalline salts. But they have separate names, they have special names, if you will. And copper is blue and ferrous is green. And finally, we have a hack on the pH scale. So the pH scale ranges from 1 to 14, depending on the concentration of hydrogen ions or hydronium ions or hydroxide ions. And the easiest color change is red to blue. So if we recall, we know that bases turn red litmus paper blue, and acids turn blue litmus paper red. So in correlation to this, red means highly acidic and blue means highly basic. And also in terms of the values, lowest means highly acidic, highest means highly basic, and medium, if you split the difference, we'll get 7, and medium is neutral. So the lowest pH value is the highest acidity, and the highest pH value is the highest basic nature. And if you look at 7, which is usually the pH of drinking water, it's neutral. And the human body cannot sustain a pH which can only sustain a pH between 7 and 7.6. So that concludes part 2 of Chemistry Hacks. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video and had a great learning experience. Don't forget to share it with your friends who might find this useful as well.